What's up, you guys? It's Decipher, but I'm sure you already knew that. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of Sound Design with Decipher. Today we're going to be going over how to make hi-hats. Hopefully you tuned in yesterday and caught the first episode, which was turning 808s into kicks. If not, I highly suggest that you go back and check that one out, and we'll be here whenever you're ready. But for the rest of us, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so we've got FL Studios open here, and the first thing we want to do is we want to load up 3X Oscillator. And once we've got 3X Oscillator loaded up, we're going to go through and you want to hit these 3 little dice down in the bottom corner of your 3X Oscillator here. And what those 3 dice are going to do is it's going to give you a static noise, and then you just want to record some of that noise. And we're going to pull that noise over. We're going to shape it a little bit here. And then you want to consolidate it down. And once you've got it consolidated, you want to start taking the out and pull in. We're going to give it a tap here, see what it sounds like. Not so good. Pull some more, tap it again, not quite. Pull a little bit more, tap it again. There we go, we're getting there. Generally, you're going to end up turning these almost all the way. When you turn the out, you're going to end up pushing them almost all the way because you want very little of this sound. Now we've got the sound. We're shaping it a little bit more. It's starting to sound a bit like a kick. Shape it a little bit more. Pull on the length some here. You'll see me pulling the length knob. The length is just adjusting how much of it is actually playing. Starting to get really close to sounding like a kick. Touch the length a little bit more. Alright, there we go. And now we're going to bop over to these, no, I think I'm going to touch this length just a little bit more, and there we go. Now we're going to pop over to the pre-computed effects here, and we're going to start by adding some resonance to this. And I'm getting a hi-hat sound. I'm liking this. Alright, now do a little EQing from it, from inside the pre-computed effects. There we go. I like that. I really like that. Touch a little pogo just to give it a little bounce in it. Not always will we use the pogo. Sometimes you'll see me play with it and it just won't work. Just like that reverb that I just turned there. Throw a little stereo delay in, that'll give a little bit more bounce to it. Try normalizing it. That's a little too harsh, so we're going to leave it the way it is. And then that's pretty much all we're going to do with that. We're going to take and export it out next. And then I'll show you guys another way here that we can do this, which is to get a little bit higher of a hi-hat sounding effect here. So we're going to take this same bar and I'm going to push it up to the 5th, C5. But now, watch what happens after I consolidate this. So first off, I'm going to shape this one almost immediately. I'm going to cut it back so that there's less of it to shape down. And then I'm going to come in here. We're going to crank this out knob. Basically, you see I pretty much just cranked it all the way over this time. Now we're playing with the length a little bit, getting it to sound right, just pulling some of the extra frequencies out of it. There we go, nice little taps. We're going to stretch it, set it to stretch, and then we want to push it up an octave here. So, there we go. So it's a higher sound. So basically we took that C5 and moved it to C6 without actually putting it there. And I mean, you could just move your note up if you wanted to, but this is just one way that I prefer to do them because then I get a little more control over how I want them and where I want them. If I decide I only want to go a half an octave or a quarter of an octave or something, I can do that. So here you're seeing me play with the pogo a little bit. Put just a little touch on, a little stereo delay, some resonance, basically the same concept. What I'm basically showing you guys right here is how you can make your own hi-hat sounds with like one plug-in, one note, and no actual outboard effects, no going to the EQ. You can make hi-hats right here from the pre-computed effects inside just the sampler channel with that piece of audio in it. This next one I'm going to show you is a little bit different and can be a little bit trickier sometimes. It's using Flex because Flex has some really amazing drum kits in it. And basically what you're seeing is I'm kind of going through just trying to find the best sounding hi-hats or whatever I'm going to shape. And I really prefer to use Flex more, like their drum kits for percussions and stuff, and we'll get there. Right there. I like that one. Kind of a caged hi-hat sound, and I'm going to affect this a little bit. All right. Take and slide it over. And we're going to chop it back and consolidate this down. And then this one can get a little trickier when you're using actual drum sounds. Sometimes you don't even have to do you obviously don't have to do the out or the length or anything because you've already used a hi-hat, so it's already shaped. Now you just kind of have to sound design it, which is what you're seeing me do here by playing with the pogo, playing with the resonance, all that stuff. I added a little stereo delay, just some things like that. Now, when I use Flex, though, you're going to see me here in a minute. I will jump to patching, and I'm going to use an EQ and patcher just to enhance some of the sounds. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to patcher now. This is where we do have to jump into the EQ and the mixer, but we're going to open patcher. We're going to come up here to the presets. We're going to hit this. It's over here on the right hand side, simple EQ symbols. Shout out to the homie Curtis King who showed me this. With the simple EQ symbols, this is just like the kick drums yesterday. Curtis turned me on to all this. So I got a little, I think is very vital type thing going on here. I don't want to do too much of that or YouTube might hit me. And then you're just kind of seeing me go through and pull knobs and affect sounds just to find the absolute best. And the cool thing is like with your simple EQ, you get these really cool, it reminds me of like the CLA plugins. If you guys have ever used the CLA plugins, which I love, CLA uses these terms like room, wall, bounce, spring, all arena, auditorium, all these weird terms, but they make perfect sense. And that's one thing the simple EQs do. They use like room, metal, strike, plastic, brightness, all these terms that kind of let you know exactly what you're really affecting. And now you're just seeing me kind of pull some more of it and play with it here. And then, I mean, it's all pretty basic, like especially when it comes to hi-hats and kicks. That's why I chose to start here. They're two of the simplest ones. When we get to snares and stuff like that, it can take a little bit longer. Those will be a little bit longer lessons. But overall your kicks, your hi-hats, and your 808s are by far the easiest, and you can see that I'm still adjusting things over here. But by far, your kicks, your 808s, and your hi-hats are the easiest three to learn with. Then, once you've got those down, you kind of start figuring out how to do... I learned to do snare drums from hi-hats because they are very alike. And then I learned to do tom drums from kick drums because through a little simple processing, they were pretty similar too. So just things like that. But yeah, so you guys see I'm still pulling some knobs here, and I think I finally got this about where I want it. We might hit the pre-computed effects here and throw a little EQing in. We're starting to get a decent sound, it sounds like. We're going to go ahead and export this one out. And that is the end of episode 2. You guys now know how to make kick drums and hi-hats. You're almost on your way to a full drum set. So, alright guys, I'm W.Deexypher. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope these are helping. If they are, please drop a like, please drop a comment, and please make sure to subscribe. Do all that fun YouTube stuff for me. I really appreciate it.